Okay, so a review of part of chapter 13. We're going to look at 13.2 and 13.5. First part is looking at the product rule. So here's our product rule right here. Basically, if you have the same bases and you're multiplying them together, you add the exponents. And here's an example. 6 to the second power times 6 to the fifth power is 6 to the seventh power. So just a little explanation. 6 squared times 6 to the fifth. 6 squared, we can all agree, is 36 because it's 6 times 6, right? And then 6 to the fifth power is 6 times 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. And so if you notice, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. So there's a little explanation of that product rule. Okay, let's see. So here's another example using the product rule. And so what they did here is they used the commutative property of multiplication. Doesn't matter what order you multiply things together, so you can kind of shift things around. And so I was going to kind of show you, I was going to rework their example to kind of show you that this is, 2 times x cubed. A lot of times people feel that those are attached, but they're really not. And then you've got 3 times x to the seventh. And so you can kind of switch these around however you want. So we can put the 2 and 3 next to each other, and then the x cubed times x to the seventh. 2 times 3 is just 6. And then x to, you've got 3 x's, you've got 7 x's. Together you've got 10 x's. So I just kind of wanted to work that one out again so you could kind of see it. They kind of skipped a couple steps. But anyways, all right. Let's look at, on your homework you actually don't really have a question about the product rule, but you kind of need to know about it in order to do this next rule, which is the power rule. So if you have a power to a power, you multiply them. So if you can look at this example, 3 squared to the fourth, you just do 2 times 4, which is 3 to the 8th. And once again, I've got the example here. And I kind of wanted to work it out in a little bit more detail just so you can kind of see this. So we all can agree that, if you had x to the fourth, that's, x times x times x times x, right? Well, 3 to the second power raised to the fourth power is 3 squared times 3 squared times 3 squared times 3 squared. And as you saw from the product rule before, you just add the exponent powers if you have like bases. So 2, 4, 6, 8. So I just kind of wanted to show you why you multiply when you have power to a power. So hopefully that cleared some of that up for you. Okay, so let's look at 61 and 63. You definitely have problems like this in your homework, okay? So the way I like to do it is, and you can kind of see from power rule B that whoever's inside the parentheses gets that exponent on the outside. So everybody inside here is invited to the party. Everybody gets that power of 3. So I like to do it individually. So the negative 2 gets raised to the power of 3. The x squared gets raised to the power of 3. And the y gets raised to the power of 3. And then it's a little bit easier to kind of work these out, smaller steps. So let's see, negative 2 to the third, it should be negative 8. Power to a power, you multiply, so it's x to the 6. And then the y to the third is just y to the third. We just don't need those parentheses any longer. And there we go. That's that. All right, let's look at 63. It's a very similar problem, actually. So once again, each value needs to get squared, and I'm going to do it individually. If you kind of get pretty good at these and you kind of want to do it in your head, not really a big deal. So 3 squared is 9. 3 times 3. Okay, this should become a to the 6th and b to the 4th. There we go. Not too bad. Okay, we got 2 more for this video, and then we're going to have to look at the other section of chapter 13 in a second. Okay, so let's see, 79, 85. Okay, So what you want to understand is this negative r to the fourth s, it's really saying negative 1 times r to the fourth times s squared. So I'm going to rewrite this just so you don't, as you work more and more of these, you really don't need to do this step. I'm just trying to basically over explain the problem just to make sure everybody's grasping this. So then I'm going to square the negative 1. Okay, and everything else inside that parentheses. And same thing with the other one. These are just being multiplied together, so just keep the multiplication. So negative 1 to the, oh, let me fix that real quick. Negative 1 to the fifth power. Okay, and then r squared to the fifth power, s to the third to the fifth power. Give myself a little more room. All right, so, well, negative 1 squared becomes positive 1. This becomes r to the eighth. This is just s squared. Negative 1 to the fifth, well, that's going to stay negative 1. Then times, let's see, this becomes r to the 10th, and then s to the 15th. And then once again, multiplication is commutative. Now, if you want to do this in your head, no problem. Go ahead and do it. But I'll go ahead and kind of start moving some things around. So I'm going to kind of move these guys next to each other. And once again, you could probably already do the arithmetic in your head, but just make sure this is clear. Then we'll get the r's next to each other. R to the 8th, r to the 10th, and then s squared, s to the 15th. Okay, and so 1 times negative 1 is, well, negative 1. R to the 8th, r to the 10th is r to the 18th. S to the 2nd, s to the 15th should give us s to the 17th. And, oh, sorry about that. And this answer is perfectly fine right here. This is a good answer, but really that 1 is kind of understood in front, so typically we just leave it as negative r to the 18th, s to the 17th, and just put it like that. I mean, either one's fine, but it's a little bit more cleaned up like that. Okay, one more to go here. Let me kind of clean this up. All right, so here everything gets raised to the power of 4, and you know what? I'll do this one in my head this time. So everything gets raised to the power of 4, every base in here. So base 2 gets raised to the power of 4, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is 16. And then you've got x squared raised to the 4th. So remember, power to power, you multiply. So this is x to the 8th, y to the 12th, and then z to the 4th, because z has an understood power of 1, and then 1 times 4, there you go. All right, let's look at this other one. So now all these are going to get squared, or basically all their exponents are getting multiplied by 2. So that becomes x squared, y to the 4th, z to the 6th. And then let's see, 16 is the only number I've got, so we'll just, let's do this in red. So we'll put 16 right here. I've got 8 x's here and 2 here, so that gives me 10. Got 12 y's, 4 y's here, that gives me 16. Z the 4th, z the 6th, that gives me 10 of those. Okay. All right, so these last couple problems I worked, you can expect all those in the homework. But anyways, I'll make another video for the next part because it's going to focus on 13.5.